Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's first full moon. This is the full moon for May 1st, 2026, a full moon in Scorpio. That sun is in luscious Taurus. My name is Jennifer Barish, and I am your astrologer and host for this month's full moon meetup, brought to you by Astro College. We have a little gathering every month, and sometimes people show up. Generally, when it's a little closer to the full moon, we are recording on April 29th here in Cincinnati, where I live. And so it's a busy week. I'm sure you're having a busy week too. So we are recording just a little bit early. That full moon is actually on Friday. But I am so glad you're here and watching this video now and coming to check it out. So I'll be interested to hear stories of how the full moon showed up for you. So I want to share my screen so that you can see the chart and see what I am seeing. Well, there we go. All right, so here is the chart of the full moon. And I have number one because we have two full moons this month. We have one at the end of the month, which will be a full moon in Sagittarius after we get on into Gemini season. But right now we're still in Taurus season, and you can see that opposition happening at 11 degrees and 20 seconds in Scorpio. And what do we want to say about this full moon? So I always just talk about what's the first thing that strikes you. You know, we see the big red line between the sun and the moon, and you have to think of a full moon. It's an opposition. It's kind of like being just pulled apart. It has a feeling, someone, or if you know of someone who's a full moon baby who was born under a full moon, sometimes they will have that feeling emotionally, like they just can't find resolution. They just can't make up their mind about something, sometimes like it's being pulled apart. So that is what creates that little bit of tension when we have a full moon. And you've got to consider if you take this chart and you flip it and it's your sky, the sun and the moon are actually opposite in the sky from each other during a full moon. So they can't see each other. But what happens is that that moon becomes brighter, it illuminates and it brings something up. So then you combine that idea with being in Scorpio, that is really an aggressive moon in Scorpio. It is direct, it is intense, it is focused, it has a job to do. It is not playing around when you have that moon or any sign in Scorpio. So this moon is shaking things up a bit. It's going to wake us up a bit. It is fueled by, take a look, because being in Scorpio, it is ruled by Aries. We go up and look, are ruled by Mars, which is in Aries. And, so Mars likes being in Aries. Mars in Aries gets stuff done. It likes to go fast. Think of like a speedy, a race, like the NASCAR race, that kind of energy. Like everything is just fast, 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 fast. And with a full moon in Scorpio, Scorpio is like dig into the bottom of something. Some people will say this is kind of gross, but it's kind of like a zit, and you're gonna squeeze it and get the gunk out. That's what that full moon is gonna do. The squeeze is gonna be on somewhere, and the thing has nothing it can do but come to a head, almost like a volcano. Something's got to give, and additionally, this Scorpio full moon is in what they call the path of fire. That is from 15 degrees Libra through 15 degrees Scorpio. There are a bunch of fixed stars there that are kind of nasty and ugly. And so every month I notice this time frame because this is when words can be harsh or people can be a little sharper maybe than what they mean to be. And having that Mars flavor, that Aries flavor, even though it's in Scorpio, a very sharp, direct. So, watching our words. And so, additionally, when I see patterns in a chart that lead to that, so it says, okay, so this is some fighting energy, right? Well, what also leads me to believe that is we have a formation called a yod here. These are inconjuncts, which go right to the full moon, and it's happening from Venus here on this side in conjunct that moon. And then we've got Saturn on this side in conjunct that moon. So somebody's not getting along. People aren't necessarily playing nice, and you may see that there are little outbursts, or something's festering, something's coming to a head. And it may not be where you are. The fact that you're watching this helps you to be prepared and be aware and sidestep that kind of stuff if you don't want to be involved. But it can let you know if something's brewing. This moon is going to bring it up and out. It is going to put on the pressure and express it and get that gunk out of there. So that's the first thing to think about this moon. Things are being brought to light, things are being revealed, and in that path of fire, words are not necessarily nice. So another thing that we have happening with this moon, with this opposition, is I noticed that there is another formation called a T-square. And this is a pressuresome point. It's a square from the moon over here to Pluto and Juno. And then it's another square from Pluto and Juno up to the sun. And so that T square, it just is kind of uncomfortable. It's like a itch you can't scratch, like you got a tag in the back of your shirt and it's just driving you crazy and you got to do something about it. Well, in Pluto being at the helm of this thing, Pluto is saying something must transform, something must change. And then we've got little Juno there talking about commitment. Maybe you've committed to something and now you have to change those plans. Maybe somebody else who had committed to, going on an outing, or it doesn't have to be heavy. It can be very light, but there's been a change in plans, and now you've got to reconfigure. Now you've got to do something different. That's the kind of energy that this can bring in. And so, what do we do when we have that little ickiness? That moon is expressing something, putting the pressure on, bringing things to light. But then there's this little irritation coming in. It's really bugging us. When you see a T square, you go across the chart and you see this is in Aquarius. And if you come over here, this is Leo land. That is how you handle that itchiness. So Leo land says, you know what? Let's just go play. Let's just go out to dinner. Let's just dress up. Let's go buy a new pair of shoes. Let's do a little shopping. Home goods, anyone? So you might be able to handle some of this pressure that's coming in from this full moon by doing a little retail therapy, maybe getting your nails done, maybe going to the spa, taking care of yourself. Leo likes to be showy and flashy. Maybe you need a new shirt and it's time to go out on Friday night or Saturday night. That would be a good use of the energy. So you want to get your Leo on, put your Leo cape on and say, I'm going to be the clown. I'm going to be the life of the party. But Leo is also a leader. Okay, so you might be asked to lead something, to take charge of something, to take control of something. Oh, and then we've got Pluto over here. We just love that because Pluto wants to be in control of what's happening. So when the pressure's on and things feel intense and uncomfortable, maybe you have to step out, one, and have some fun, or two, take control, take leadership of that problem. Those are two ways to handle that. So now we've talked about the T-square. So the next thing I want to talk about is I see another square in the chart that's pretty significant, and this is Jupiter is squaring Saturn over here. So Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Saturn, not Saturn, Mars. So Mars likes to go fast. So we've got expansion, fast. Things are moving fast. So yet another marker that says things are just going to be quick, 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 quick with this full moon. Whatever's going to come to light, however it's going to be acted upon, whoever's acting out and showing up. I sometimes think of Jupiter and Mars kind of like an accident. You know, you stubbed your toe on the coffee table. It's kind of like a realization of something, and maybe were walking too fast. Maybe you were running too fast and you trip. That kind of energy. Like things just, it's too much, too fast. And the way we can handle this is by slowing things down. The way that we can really speak to all of this energy coming through with the Scorpio moon is to look to the better qualities of Scorpio. That focus, that stillness, that quietness, getting like locked in and honed in on a goal. And when you decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do on Friday night, I am not going to let plans change my mind. Maybe it's a good night, if something's going to be expressed, maybe it's a good time to clean out your closet. Maybe it's a good time to organize something or to put something away. Or maybe you're finishing up your work so you can have fun this weekend. It might be a good time to really focus in on something and be intent about it. And that's another way to work with energy is what are Scorpio's good qualities? Scorpio's like a dog with a bone. It just will not let go and it stays focused. So eyes on the prize, not letting all these external factors, everybody getting their panties in a twist and getting all upset. Like, not you. You are going to stay focused on what you're trying to do. And you're not going to let things irritate you. And you're going to become a leader, stepping into the Leo land. You're going to become a leader if you need to. Or alternately, you're going to go out and have a good time. Maybe it's a good night to go out for a concert and just say, you know what? I'm just going to let the world pass me by tonight. So that I think is how we can use the energy that we have. So one more thing I wanted to bring up, because if you're looking intently at this chart, you also see a blue triangle up to the right-hand side. This is called a talent trine. And so this is going to be present all summer. So I'm bringing it up right now. It's not going anywhere. It's here. And actually, this is one of the more positive aspects that we have in 2026 that really, with the advent of Uranus going into Gemini, which just happened last weekend, so that's all brand new, and it's gonna start picking up speed. That right now, this trine has to do with Venus, but we've got Uranus coming in, and eventually Uranus is going to pick this energy up. And it is right now with Neptune, but we've got still Neptune and Saturn holding hands at the head of this trine. And then we've got Pluto again, who's a big player. Pluto is all about making change, readjusting, realigning things, bringing up, our past history, our past story, things that we've had that we need to deal with and that we need to move on and we need to transmute and change. I always think of it like turning the coal into the diamond. Well, the coal has to have some pressure in order to become a diamond. So we're becoming a diamond with this transit, but it is not easy. But they are talking easy. When you see the blue lines, you've got a trine here between Uranus and Venus down to Pluto, and then you've got sextiles over to the Saturn Neptune. And so this energy is really good. It's helpful and supportive. I've thought of ever since we've had Saturn and Neptune came conjunct in February, which was really a big transit for the year of 2026. I've thought of that as like a new structure, a new way, a new dream, a new direction, something new coming in that maybe we've been planning for, but now it's time to make it real. So if we want our dream to become real, we've got to do the work. And I think this talent trine actually helps that. And I think that this full moon is also bringing that to light. What is the work that's in front of us? How are we going to get this piece of coal to become a diamond? How are we going to push that agenda forward? How are we going to apply that pressure? So maybe it's a project that's been lagging and you say, no, guys, we got to get started. And you got to call, maybe you're doing some home remodeling and you've got to call the contractors and say, we're lagging here. Time is of the essence. We need a date to be done by. I need a timeline. I need to know where we're at. I've got to know how we're going to get this finished. I want all the details. I want to know all the players. And it might be a good time for you to actually lay out this plan. Scorpio likes to be in control. They like to be at the helm of the ship, and this full moon is exposing something. Maybe that contractor has just not been meeting up to snuff, and it's time to find someone else to do the work, or tell them, no, I'm the one paying for this work to be done, and I need you to go and do this work. And that's you taking control and taking charge of what the issue is. So may not be home remodel, but just a thought. That's where it's kind of showing up for me. There's some work that we're having done and at my house, and so yeah, we've got some timelines that we need to start to figure out. And so I think about, okay, I'm not going to let drama bother me. I'm going to stay focused, eyes on the prize. Something's being revealed, something we need to fix, we need to transform in some kind of way. And this thing could move very fast. And so if you're the one steering the ship, be prepared for fast pivots, fast change, fast reconfiguring. And that is how you can handle this full moon. So I want to look at my notes and see. Oh, I did forget to mention. There are four signs that this is going to affect the most. So any full moon, first thing is going to be what's the moon in Scorpio. So if you are a Scorpio sun, a Scorpio rising, or a Scorpio moon, you're going to feel this stronger. So Scorpios are going to be heavily affected with this full moon, as are Tauruses. The same thing, Taurus sun, Taurus rising, Taurus full or moon, those are going to be affected heavily. And then we've got what would be considered a square, Leo and Aquarius. So Leo, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio, you are the signs that are going to be affected most by this full moon configuration. And I would say you're going to start feeling it from Wednesday. So even today, tonight, definitely tomorrow, all day Friday, probably some on Saturday. So it's kind of a 2 or 3 day window of time, and it comes in differently for everybody. But wherever you've got that fixed energy in your chart, and those four signs are the fixed signs, and those are the four signs that don't like change. So they are not going to be happy about this. They are not, if you have that energy, you're going to be like, no, I'm the used to being the one in control here. I'm the used to being the one that has a handle on everything. I do not want that to change. So you're going to have to be a little flexible, fixed signs. You're going to have to figure out how you can make this work in the best interest of everybody during this full moon. Okay. So, very good. Well, since it's kind of a quiet night, we're moving through things quickly. So then I like to bring in a couple little things of esotericness. One is the Sabian symbols. So this full moon is at 11 degrees and 20 seconds. So we'll round up and say 12 degrees Scorpio. And for 12 degrees Scorpio, in the Sabian symbols, which were written about by Mark Edmund Jones, they had to do with some channeling someone did, but it's very interesting. They add a nice flavor as we're looking at the full moon. And if we look at 12 degrees Scorpio, there's a phrase, it says an embassy ball. That's the image, an embassy ball. So what do we know in the news where there has been a ball and something near the embassy? Okay, what's all over the news right now? There was an attempted shooting of the president at a presidential dinner that was at a ballroom at a hotel, like over the weekend, last weekend. And so that story's probably going to come up again. Something's going to be revealed that we did not know. Something's going to come to light, something that needs to change. Okay. So I think we're going to hear more about that story in the news. But I wanted to read from you. So in your own life, how can you apply this? It says an embassy ball is an image of a select gathering of a social and political elite. An embassy is the house and grounds of a foreign government. Territorially, it's the sovereign land belonging to a foreign country, subject to that country's laws and overseen by a representative of the foreign country of highest rank, the ambassador. A ball is a formal assembly for social dancing. We think right away about what everyone is wearing and sense the importance of display. Important contracts are doubtless being made, but it is the gathering of the pinnacle of social culture and multinational elite and how they show themselves to the world through showing themselves to each other that counts. Therefore, the embassy ball is a window on the world as represented by the elite, the leaders, and the privileged. So, we've got glass barriers potentially. We've got some um, what like social uh, appropriateness, like how we act when we're in a formal setting, like a ball. So maybe a mask, a face, a way that we present ourselves, or we're being asked to handle something with grace. But then there's something going on behind the scenes, right? It's that Scorpio. It reminds me of like a duck who looks calm on the surface, is presenting themselves a certain way, but then they're just paddling, 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 paddling. Like there's a lot of stuff going on underneath the scenes that nobody knows about. And so some of that's going to be revealed. So wherever you might have to act a certain way or put on a brave face, maybe it's at work. You know, sometimes we get dressed up with work at work. We're with some of our peers. They're educated people. People dress and act a certain kind of way, and it means that we have to do so as well. And so we're thinking, okay, well, this is kind of superficial, yes, but there's a lot happening behind the scenes. And maybe you're going to become more aware of what's happening behind the scenes and however this plays out for you. So that's one interesting piece. And then for my friends who like to know about essential oils and gemstones and aromatherapy, so we are going to be diving in. If you have a vetiver, that is a Scorpio scent, patchouli, fennel even, or basil, or there's one called ylang ylang. I think that's how you pronounce it. If you have any of those essential oils, those are good ones to use during this full moon. Patchouli, I said that one. Even lavender is good. The colors for Scorpio is black or a blue-green color. And the crystals for this lunation, anything to do with Scorpio, is amethyst, moonstone, garnet, black tourmaline, which is a protective energy, or carnelian. Okay. And then other essential oils ruled by Mars are things that are a little bit fiery, like ginger, which has a little kick. So think about eating at a Thai restaurant where they put a lot of ginger in the food, or black pepper, or even basil again. So that's a good herb that can go along with this particular energy. And these can be remediations or to help you dive into those positive Scorpio energies, right? That help you to stay focused, that help you to be investigative, to pay attention, to be aware, to noticing details. Scorpios notice everything. They know everything that's happening in a room as soon as they enter the room. They're very intuitive. It's a water sign, and they can just spot stuff. Every Scorpio I know can tell you a backstory of things that I'm not even noticing what's going on. I'm just thinking everything's on the up and up. But this moon would suggest that's not the case, and it's time for us to pay attention to things that are happening behind the scenes. In medical astrology, we would be looking toward things ruled by the eighth house, which is the house of Scorpio. And so that also rules the reproductive system, the genitals, the colon. It rules elimination, death, transformation. It rules elimination of materials the body does not need. So there might be something that you realize I don't need and I need to get rid of. That's why I said you might be cleaning stuff up and taking it to donate. You might be deciding what is of value or what's not of value. Again, Taurus month is we are taking ownership of things and we are assessing what we have and maybe having a little appreciation for the things we have or getting our ducks in a row as far as our budget, our finances, our savings, our retirement. You may have been thinking about all those things recently, especially after tax season, right? And getting your finances in order. Well, Scorpio is also thinking about, what is the value and what will be more valuable later, and what do we need to get rid of? What can we pare down? What almost like the fall season when it is Scorpio, and those trees, they all lose their leaves. And as they're losing their leaves, the nutrients of the tree go down into the root and the base of the tree to help it be strong for the winter. It's gathering its resources together. So this full moon may be asking you to gather your resources. What do you need and what do you not need? Okay, also, Scorpio rules the large intestines, the bladder, urethra, sweat, inherited diseases, genetic ailments. Those are all ruled by Scorpio. So you may just hear some storylines, something going on, but if you have an upset stomach or, you might wonder, okay, something going on with my bladder, is something going on with, you know, uh, women of a certain age, I think about like I'm in a perimenopause stage, like there could be a symptom related to that, or as I'm starting into menopause, if I'm on my phone, I'm on social media, like that's the kind of stuff I'm looking at. So if you're my age or older, my face is getting red, but those are the topics that were, so you may have more of that coming into your feed, or something from those body parts coming into your awareness, or storylines, things come in the news, or people it doesn't mean it's happening particularly to you, but it's just very interesting to pay attention to how those things show up for uh, us during a time when it is a Scorpio focus, which is where we are during this time period. So, the last and final thing I have for you, friends, is I have this handy dandy little oracle card deck, which is astrology based. It's called Star Codes, and I just love, love, love this. And before I came live, I got my little handy dandy deck and I did a card pull, and the one that came up was Aries. I don't know if you can see this, but the word for Aries says act. It's time to act. And because we know Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Mars is currently in Aries, maybe it's a time for us to go for it. So I don't know what you're trying to go for right now, where you need to act, where you need to activate, where you need to get in control of things and transform it. But the Oracle speaks and says it's time for us to act. So I will leave you with that thought. And I wish you a wonderful full moon. It's just a few days. It applies some pressure regardless, but I do think this one might make us a little more anxious than normal. So please take care of yourself, drink lots of water, do all the things for self-care that you do if it makes you feel a little icky. I hope that you get through it okay. I would love to hear comments or suggestions because we'll get this out on YouTube hopefully before the full moon even hits and you'll get a chance to watch it. So let me know how things went for you. So until the end of the month for the next full moon, which will be the 2nd in May, I'm going to sign off. My name is Jennifer Barish. I've been your very happy astrologer to present the full moon meetup brought to you by Astro College. Thank you and have a wonderful full moon. Take care.